Welcome back. President Trump has kept a watchful eye on Iran since he returned to office. 8 months ago, the United States targeted Iran's nuclear facilities. And the way Trump described the strikes back then made it seem like another attack might not be necessary.
The strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
Earlier, I spoke with national security analyst Matt Kroenig and Joe Cirincione about where Iran's nuclear program stands today. Here's that conversation. Matt, I want to start with you. Joe, I also want you to take a swing at this. About a week ago, Steve Witkoff, the president's chief envoy in this matter, said, quote, Iran was probably a week away from having industrial-grade bomb-making material. That sounds scary, is it?
It is scary. It probably is not accurate. Last summer, when the United States took military action against Iran's nuclear program, at that time, it was very close to having a nuclear weapon. That might have been what he was referring to. But since the United States and Israel took action against Iran's nuclear program last summer, it did effectively set the program back. So I think it's no longer accurate to say they're that close to having bomb-grade material.
And, Joe, the long arc of this analytical intelligence matter has been, do you have material to make a bomb? Can you put it on a warhead? Can you send that warhead, if you can do that, accurately to a target that we would be concerned about? Evaluate those key questions.
Right. So the hardest part of making a nuclear bomb is making the material, the highly enriched uranium or plutonium. That's what we're worried that Iran is trying to do under the cover of a civilian program. The same centrifuges that can enrich uranium to low grade for fuel can enrich it to high grade for the core of a bomb. We believe that Iran still has enough centrifuges and enough feedstock, 60% enriched uranium, that it could feed it back into those centrifuges and make the core of a bomb in a matter of weeks, whether it's a week or a month, we don't know. But that's just the beginning. Then you've got to have a design for a bomb. They might have that. Then you've got to manufacture it. That takes months. And then you probably have to test it to make sure it works. The North Koreans, for example, their first test was a fizzle, didn't work. So you got to have confidence. And then you've got to put it on a ballistic missile that has enough range to reach your target and a reentry vehicle that can survive the stresses and strain of hitting the target. All that is extremely complex. It would probably take them about a year or more to do that, and we would see them doing it. So there is no imminent nuclear threat from Iran.
Matt, do you agree with that?
I agree with that. I would just also point out that for years, people said, well, North Korea is so far away, just has some material. It's going to take them a long time to develop ballistic missiles. But now the estimates are that they have about 60 nuclear weapons that can reach the continental United States. So I do think the Iranian nuclear threat is a serious one. Yes, it will take time, but if we sleep on it, they can develop these capabilities. And as Marco Rubio pointed out, they have worked on ICBMs in the past. They may be working on those again. And those are missiles that could range the continental United States.
Let's pick up on that point, because the Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor, we should always remind ourselves he has two jobs, said that the ballistic missiles Iran possesses are solely designed, this is a quote, solely designed to attack America and Americans. Joe, that would be news to the Israelis and the Saudis.
Absolutely. Look, the Iranians don't have an air force the way the Saudis or UAE or Israel does. Missiles are their air force. So they see that as essential to their defense. That's what protects them from attacks by other countries. They're capable missiles. They've been working on this for decades. But the maximum range is about 3,000 kilometers, about 1,200 miles. So they can hit maybe Turkey at the outset, southern Greece, but not North America.
And not Europe.
Not even northern or central Europe. So do they have a capability? Yes. Do they have a program to develop longer range? Yes. But they've been doing this for 20 years. There's nothing imminent about any of this threat.
Matt, when I read Politico Playbook this morning, listing the many quotes that have come from top administration officials, including off-the-record guidance that they are talking about not when to attack, but the sequencing of attacks, quote, it all feels very 2003, meaning the lead up to the Iraq war and Iraq invasion. Does it feel 2003 to you?
Well, I think there are some important differences. First of all, nobody's talking about a major military invasion, boots on the ground, 20-year occupation. All the options that are being considered are airstrikes. So it wouldn't be the kind of quagmire we saw in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I think the reason we're here is, if people remember, there were these massive uprisings against the regime in January. President Trump did set a red line and say if the Iranian government kills its people, there will be consequences. He told the Iranian people, rise up and seize your institutions, help is on the way. He couldn't act at the time because U.S. military forces were elsewhere, including in the Western Hemisphere. So now he's repositioned, and I do think there would be consequences to him just backing down from that threat. So I think the question now is not so much will the United States strike. I think we will. It's really a question of what are the targets.
Joe, do you agree with that?
I think there's a 75% chance we're going to go. I mean, part of that is just the amount of force we've amassed in the region. This is an unprecedented buildup. I think it's even more than we had in 2003. What's striking to me...
And when you have a buildup like that, does there become an inevitability?
There's inertia that comes with that. Everybody's ready to go. We have moved half of our available combat aircraft in the world to the Middle East. That is an enormous commitment. And so this is costing hundreds of millions of dollars. The people are being put on warning, ready to go. There's a certain inertia to that. And there's a commitment trap. Here's the president, how he's going to look if he backs down from his tough talk, from red lines he previously drew. And the president also might want to distract attention from some of his domestic concerns. So going to war is a tried and true attempt to do that. The problem is that he might not be able to accomplish what he wants to do. Could he damage the programs? Absolutely. Could he assassinate large parts of the leadership? Absolutely. Could he overthrow the regime? No war in history that I can think of has actually overthrown a regime by air power alone. You got to have boots on the ground if you want to do that, particularly with a country the size of Iraq, 90 million people, a vast area. This is why two things strike me. One, there's no real reason to go to war right now. We don't know what the objectives are. And most important, we haven't been having a debate about this. Unlike 2003, there's no month-long discussion building American support or allied support for going to war. Zero, not a discussion about this, even in the State of the Union.
And I'm going to give you 30 seconds for the last word.
Well, I think there is a reason. One, if you look back to late last year, there was a discussion about Iran reconstituting its missile program. The Israelis approached the United States about possibly restriking the missile program. Then you have this uprising and the president setting a red line. And so I do think the question is there some kind of large-scale attack that's meant to destabilize the regime? I agree with Joe, that's unlikely to work and would be costly. Or is it some kind of more military limited action against the missile and nuclear program, which is what I'd expect?
You've given us a tremendous amount of information. I appreciate it both. Matt and Joe,
the most
so
we've
much.
ever agreed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.